Dear God, thank you for today. Thank you for all the opportunities, trials, and tribulations, and the energy and the ability to make something happen. Thank you for just the safety and protection that me and my family experience. Thank you for my wife and our partnership. Thank you for being what bonds us. Thank you for always shining brightly upon us. And thank you for our ability to reflect and grow each and every day. I want to give a prayer to all those that are in need all across your kingdom. I pray that those that are in darkness are able to find your light, and I pray those that are feeling darkness within them are able to reflect and change and find a different way of being. Thank you for always blessing the word from us as you bless the one that we leave behind. And I just pray that you are able to help me diminish myself so that you can be greatly seen. I pray that all my work brings glory to your name. And I just thank you for always using me as a vessel to spread your word and to be able to use these hands to put work into this soil. Thank you for blessing the word from us as you bless the one that leave behind. And in your holy name, by your son Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. What is going on? Welcome to Tribe Network. What's going on, guys? It is good to see you. It's good to be here. Happy to be back. We did get going a little early today. We may be ending a little early too, just because of my schedule and what we're doing. I'm opening random softwares right now. My apologies. But I have it's good to be here. Happy to have you guys all here. We're chilling. We're doing good. Got some homework done today. It's been a good week since Monday. Been at work. Been doing homework. Been, doing the things that need to be done to be a good husband and soon to be father. Just trying to be my best each and every day. Some crazy, wicked news. It's definitely been hard to just stay neutral and just stay like in a Zen mindset with everything going on, from ICE to Venezuela to Trump potentially running for a third term, all those great and wonderful things. Sorry, totally. Oops. Hold on, let me try to fix this focus a little bit. Just a little bit. Oh. Look at that mustache. That's how I knew it was in focus, because earlier, let's have to lean up. Set up. When I first was getting in focus, you saw the little crevice in there. I'm like, oh, a little crumb from earlier. I'm like, yep, we're definitely in focus. You're seeing every little bit of my beard right now. But yeah, no, it's been a crazy time. All the ICE shit going on, Venezuela. The fact that we're gonna break up NATO so that we can invade Greenland. Like, what the fuck? NATO, I mean, like, you thought, NATO, the whole point of NATO was to stop tyranny and be able to have, allies that could easily come together so that we could respond to some, crazy stuff and just be unified and, just be an intimidation to, those that wanted to commit aggression to, think something, think differently and, change what they were about to do. It was supposed to be a deterrent. And the fact that, we're just, we're going to be the ones that break it is pretty wild. We own it. We contribute more than anyone else to it. We, everyone, follow, we are a global power, man. We put pressure on everyone to do what we say. Our allies have seemingly came through us most. I know people be like, well, we pay more. Well, because, we have more bases. There's already, American, look at Greenland. They had to remove troops from there to make it look like we didn't have a presence. We have military bases already on Greenland, and we're going to invade it. Just for Trump's ego, too, because, name a real concern, right? There could be a couple real concerns when it comes to why you'd want, American control on Greenland, why you'd want, at least sound control on Greenland, especially polar, the polar caps melting changes our how close us and Russia and China are when, going through the North Pole and going over the top. Something that's a brand new, strategic military front that we haven't seen before, for sure. For sure. That's like that. Like you can base a common sense, logical perspective on the fact that like American influence, American military, and like a Western like protection of thought, like whether I agree with it or not, like you can make the argument on why there needs to be a good presence there, right? Like why we need to be there. But like we're already there. We already have access to bases. Like whatever our influence is, we can make it happen. Like no one wants to go to war with us. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to go to war with us. And like we are like the capitalist backbone. Like the American dollar is the reserve currency of the world. We don't have to go to war with Greenland to have that influence, to like have that protection. Then like another argument you can make on like why should America have control over Greenland would be like, rare minerals, like, rare earth minerals. Like we need these resources for potentially like microchips, military interest in the military industry, AI chips, again, another very important thing. Like America does, we do need this. And like when I say America, I mean like Western thought, like this Western empire that we have. Like we do need this. But before we even go get the raw material to do that, we would need to build infrastructure in America to process and refine this material so that we can use it and put it into market. We would need a socialistic democracy that takes our taxpayer money and builds infrastructure throughout the Midwest from coast to coast so that we can process and ship and take this raw material and make it into like a commodity, an AI chip. I don't know. I don't know what material, the rare material specifically that Greenland has. I just know we don't have the infrastructure to refine it because that's what China really has a stranglehold on. That's the industry that left, So again, another thing that we could get that we could easily we are the reserve currency of the world. There's nothing that our financial back we have all the money. We have that side of the resources. So we could find a way to trade if we really needed it, if we really wanted it. Greenland would work with us. We're allies. We have contracts saying we're the nukes that back your safety. And that's what NATO is. NATO is the fact that we will come up and we will protect you if someone wants to come and starts trouble in your backyard. So of course they'll trade with us. Why would they not want to trade with us? But even if they wanted to trade with us, see if we can't get Puppy in here real quick. Even if they wanted to trade with us, we don't have the ability to turn that material into something nice. Come here, Poop. Oh, look at you, Poop. Oh, look at you. Oh. Say hi to chat. Say hi to the chit chatter. Oh, yeah, you like your butt scrub, don't you? Oh, now he's going to get all excited and want to play. Poor puppy. But, so, like, again, another real reason that we could potentially, need the resources and the geographical and why we would need access, but we already have access to that. So we might actually be, concerned about trade over the top of the polar caps and safety from that way from, opposing navies. We may be interested in the material, but none of that really shakes out. None of that really shakes out. You know what I mean? If we don't want to make Cuba the 51st state, why would we want to make Greenland the 51st state? You know what I mean? Especially if they're resentful to Republicans, that would make them a Democratic voting base. Especially if they're already, listen, so they're not going to be a state because we can't give them voting rights. Let me tell you why the Republican Party, Republicans I get to talk to, wouldn't want this. Because they're already used to free health care. They're already used to their taxes giving them child support and all these things that we call socialistic over here, right? So they're gonna vote blue. We just want to extend our territory. We just want to look good on a map. What are we doing? We're doing old Roman Caesars. We're gonna go out to the unknown lands and claim territory. And come back and say and take all the resources from the new conquered and send it back. Remember when remember when back like it was like a little while ago, it was trending or whatnot, everyone was talking about it, where they were talking about like ask a man how often he thinks about the Roman Empire. And dudes were saying like, dude, I think about it 3 times a day, at least once a week, you know? Do you think that's because like that's as far as they made it in history? Like they were like, oh, I wonder what the world like. I wonder what history is. They started like they were like, oh, numbers. We learned. You know, maybe they learned from the Bible, and the Bible got them to like the Roman Empire. I don't know, but I think that's all they know. I don't think they've like looked into like modern domination or like because I mean like you can even point to the fact that they got Doge stripped all of our soft powers. There's other ways of influence. There's other like things that like a Alexander the Great style, Julius Caesar, I suppose, style of like conquering. But I mean, even Julius Caesar, like most of his battles, I think were like inland. I don't know. It's interesting. They just have like a medieval thought on like maps and borders and like expansion. It's just it's just like what are like why like what's the why, right? Like why Greenland? Why Venezuela? Is it because we're talking about that now instead of the Epstein files? Like, are we going to war? Are we killing people? We wouldn't. America has better morals and characters, specifically in the White House. We wouldn't kill people just so we would stop talking gossip, so we'd stop looking for pedophiles, right? We wouldn't do that. But Trump might. I know we wouldn't, but Trump might. Oh, I told myself I wouldn't just go so hard so early. I told myself I would catch you guys up on Tribe Vibe related projects and what I'm working on that front. But it's crazy times, man. There's people out here who thinks ICE is doing right. You know what I mean? They're out here saying ICE is doing their bidding, and like then also tell you that they have any like spirituality in them at all, but they refuse like. It just doesn't coincide, man. It just doesn't. It just doesn't make sense to me sometimes, you know? I don't get how humans can be so different. I mean, we are very vast, we're very individualized, but like I think it has to be deeper than that. Like where they're getting their news and where they're getting their hug box is just like such a like icky place, and like you shouldn't be in a hug box. Your hug box should be your loved ones around you, right? And what you should be hugging is good character, not a political opinion. Because like none of this is even political to me. The way I just broke down, I mean, I know at the end I was saying like they would vote blue, but that's because I know Trump is the one that's like doing it. And, like I need to stop. It's not political. It's not. It's about good character. It's about good morals, man. You know what I mean? It's about having a desire to want to be better and make the world a better place. You know, that's what we believe over here at Tribe Vibe. That's what we try to talk about. That's why I got to make sure I talk about this more often. Because at the end of the day, I can get along with you. It don't matter who you are. It don't matter about no genetic expression, personal expression, sexual expression, financial situation, what you do for work, how you like to spend your time. None of that matters on whether or not like I can like get down with you. Whether like you know we can have a good time, a good conversation, work together, you know, be neighbors. You know what I mean? It comes down to having good character. Like don't base it off the color of someone's skin, but the character of their morals and their spirit. And like it's not blue and red. You can have good characters and still want to vote for a conservative government in terms of financial spending. In terms of like wanting to limit and make sure that like we don't overstep our progress along the way, you know, you can't take us backwards. That's crazy. That's barbaric. But you know, a proper like you know, hey, you know, like a proper like a true conservative. Hey guys, we have to cut down our budget spending this year. We're gonna have to. I know we're already paying both our rocket or we're paying that not because it's not privatized anymore. In a proper world, like something like NASA is funded by our Congress. So hey, I know we're giving them the money they need for this, and we're giving the money for education and Social Security and subsidizing the jobs market. We're subsidizing grocery prices and and not just grocery prices. Screw grocery prices. We're subsidizing housing, shelter, water, peace of mind for people, our healthcare. But as a conservative group, we're looking over here at space, military spending, and something else. And we have to slash $1 billion for one of these because we can't go into that is Republican conservative frugalness that is needed, or hey we can't a pushback to a point on making sure standards in are in communities, but a political a policy, a philosophy based around one specific way of doing something, or one way of genetic or emotional, or one version of expression is the only way we're supposed to be doing something. And if you're not doing it that way, you are the out group and you are wrong, and none of your opinions matter, and none of your education matters, and none of your voice matters, and who you are does not matter because it is not who I am or what I believe or what my group around me is then you're wrong. You're just wrong. That's not, wasn't in the teachings. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't in the teachings. That's not in the philosophy. That's and by teachings, I mean spiritual teachings, man. No one's teaching that. No one's teaching that. In fact, when you are on a moral way, you'll realize that it's very harmful to you and yourself. Because what that leads to is I mean, I guess if you are from the crown and you are okay with take that on a genetic level, you can't just keep the same genetics in a group. It's built into universal laws that diversity and variety are needed for growth. You get so good at things and you need something else to spark an influence inside you so that you can get even better. You might be a great painter, but it's not until you play sports that you see a different way of looking at the world that makes your painting even better. I mean, we see what happens when you limit genetic minds. Look at the Royals. Some crazy stuff starts. Look at West Virginia. So I don't get why your philosophy and why people are so willing to back philosophies that lead down that road. And that's the difference. That's the difference. Are your philosophies and the outcomes you're pushing for to make this world a better place? Because what's the mission every human should have? What's the mission every human should have? Right? What is the mission? Why were we placed on earth? And the probabilities and the blessings and the timing and the situations and everything that it took to line up just right for us on this rock that has the proper atmosphere in fresh water and tides and a moon and Jupiter to stop comets from blowing it up every so often, and being the right distance away from the sun. This rock that's flying through space, spinning around the sun while it itself is on a top. Should be impossible odds. Shouldn't be possible. You can't find it. Haven't found it. We've found ways to look through space. Maybe light years away. I'm not sure where we're at on that front. I'm not we gotta get Neil deGrasse Tyson up here. Whatever. I'll probably mess his name up. Apologize, sir. But all that probability. Why are we placed here? That God-given energy. Then we have consciousness. Then we're not my puppy. My puppy is just as blessed on that front. He gets to live a life on this earth and experience all that blessedness, all that beauty, all that awesomeness. He needs to leave. I'll get up here in a second, poop. But then we get to be humans, and we get to build on history, and we get to have oral traditions, and we get to build churches and religions and societies and cultures and civilization. So why are we here? Why are we here? My belief is that we are here because we are here to make society and civilization a better place for the world, but most importantly for the next generation. We have to leave it better than we found it so the next generation can be better than we possibly imagined. That's what we're doing here at Tribe Vibe Network. And I got to make sure every time we start, we mention that because that's why we're here. It don't matter your creed. It don't matter your past. What matters is in this moment, right here, right now, we are trying to make the world a better place. And right now, one of the best ways I can do that while trying to survive in a capitalist society and like raise a family and start a family is to come here and preach to y'all 2 times a week. Come here and do what I'm doing right now. Chop that up onto YouTube Shorts as cringe as possible. Let AI do what they do and then flood it. Because we just got to get it out there. We got to let people know that there's light over here. Some exciting stuff on that front is we got some people that are willing to join the tribe and be creators for the Tribe Vibe Network. Something I got to work on is I'm gonna work on that relationship. What does that look like? Probably looks like people who want to live stream, then let me download your VODs. I take your VODs, rebroadcast them on Tribe Vibe Network so that we can become a 24-hour stream. I'll be able to do my own, this right here, on my own TribeChief channel. And then I would even rebroadcast this onto Tribe Vibe Network. And then anything that's on Tribe Vibe Network, all the VODs that come off there are free for a team of editors to edit, splice together, to make YouTube videos that would go on TribeVibeNetwork.com. And then we would make shorts from those YouTube videos. What creators get out of it, they get to keep their own channel. They get cross-pollinated over here. They can, Miss Katrina, if she's still out there, I know she does her streams. She can be one of the first people. I hope she'd be down. I'm pretty sure she'd be down to join this cause. And, so we use her content. We put it up there. And she gets cross-pollinated, so the couple people I have a couple thousand views on my shorts, but then, then her shorts go out there and pull a little bit different from the algorithm. And then now we just have this community that are going to start overlapping because they just are used to seeing the logo. You times that 2 people, you times that by 3. You get a third, fourth person, then you get 10 people on there. Everyone's bringing in a couple thousand views per video and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, look, now we're just a cross-pollinated creator zone, a network of purposeful individuals all on a common higher vibration. And what do we all have to agree with? Because we ain't all going to agree with everything. I don't agree with everybody on anything. That's just not who I am. I like to find where I disagree with people, in fact. It's sometimes a pastime of mine to see, like, hey, we have a lot in common. Where are we different at, But what needs to be the same? This right here. This is what we got. This is what we got to focus on. This is how we have to shape our philosophies. Because we're all evolving together. No one has 100% right. Until JC comes down, we're going to have to work with progress, not perfection. But we got to be morals over money. We got to have character. We got to be more concerned with our character than we are with clout. We just care about how much effort you're putting in. We don't care about the excuse. Got to take accountability and responsibility for our actions and our failures, because failures aren't a bad thing. Failures are just part of the process. And we got to care more about building a big community than being in some sort of competition. And if you have that backbone, then we can can jive together. Then what would we have after we have a bunch of different people working on the same project? We're all coming in on the same network. A couple thousand people from each people. Now we all are on that same common vibration. When we come up against something like ICE, when we come up against something like that, terrible healthcare, potential food shortage. Whatever we come across, we know that there's a online community of people that are willing to find ways to impact the real world. So we can actually start making a difference, start impacting our ecosystem instead of just all sitting out in our individual rooms. You start laying data economics in this and start making it a little bit self-funding for every individual going through, all those creators, for example, all putting their They're, allowing their energy to be used and contribute to the vibe and the network. Money comes in, 40% of it goes back down to the creator and their communities, 35% for the creator, 5% for their community. And we're able to measure their impact on engagement. They get a fair slice. Their communities benefit. So literally every single individual is finding that interacts with the vibe, that comes and gives their energy, whether they're a creator, a viewer, a hater, doesn't even matter. You're still going to reap benefit. Because that's what was taught. Because what's that benefit? Money, love, energy, right? Energy being love. Energy being guided by love, creating value in terms in this society, money. Everyone deserves to have a piece of the pie. You're not supposed to judge. You're not supposed to be the executioner. You're not supposed to be the judge and jury. That's not up for you. That's up for a higher being, a higher cosmic plane, if you will. So, let the haters get paid. Thank them for their engagement. Thank them for showing up. You guys know, I'm not going to say my shorts and anything are edited well. They're just AI driven, right? It's all good. I'm not putting a lot of energy into that. Just doing what I got to do to kind of drive the engagement. Trying to get my name out there. Trying to make Tribe Vibe Network and the algorithm cohesive. That's part of the plan. But you got people telling me I'm delusional. You got people telling me that, I call everybody a Nazi. And it's okay. Don't read the comments. I do it for engagement. I like to have the conversation. I like to know what people are thinking. And I know half of it's bots, most of it's kids. A lot of it's people that just latch on. And it's fine. It's not even a big deal. It's truly not. But just like people like Hassan and people out there, you just gotta hit them with repetition because it's not delusional. Working off a good framework and good philosophy is not delusional. Calling balls and strikes out there, man. Ice, man. I don't understand how somebody defends ICE. I know how someone joins ICE, fear and hatred, ignorance, lack of self-confidence, being manipulated. Right? But how do you defend them? How do you watch what they're doing to our communities? And you don't even have to get to the killing of somebody. Just instilling fear. Bro, their school's shutting down. School shut down. And then, someone wants to jump up and say, well, it's because Democrats are shutting down the school. No. It's all perception. They're all getting paid. And I ain't going to, dude, listen. It's the reason you can't not bring up politics sometimes. I'm sure Democrats are paying them. I'm sure Republicans are. You want to talk about Democrats paying somebody, right? Maybe some protesters get $20 to come out here and hold up some signs and protest against ICE. Maybe. Sure, maybe. There's probably some nonprofits who are pro-immigration that want these people who are willing to protest to have some sort of benefit and be able to continue to do it and not have to worry about working so much. Probably happening. Yes, it is probably happening. But what I know is happening is that one of the best jobs to have right now, look at me. Me and my brother, 6'6", 6'7", right? Big white dudes from the country, right? Neither one of us make great money at our day jobs. Ain't none one of us seen a $10,000 bonus in our jobs. Wait now, if we're looking at like Caleb fellow, the financial advisor. It's just because he's a financial advisor that people see on the internet. But something in that framework of thought and philosophy, if you were money over morals, if you cared more about making money than you are about keeping your morals, if I was, me and my brother were, then we could go, signing up for ICE right now, $50,000 out the gate, bonus pay. And it sounds like they're hired. I don't know if you guys heard, but there's some report coming out that this journalist, she was a veteran, you know what I mean? I can't check off veteran on my list. but she was a veteran. But but she like hates on Trump online and like hates on ICE online, and she got offered the job and she didn't even like fully fit. Like it's just like it's craziness. Let me see if I can pull it up. I'm looking for it right now. I gotta start doing that because when I just say like the little bit without like getting all the facts in front of me, it comes out a little cringe sometimes. I see that on my shorts. You guys can call me out for being cringe. It's totally fine. I accept it. What was her name? I know she was on Democracy Now. What am I gonna say? ICE hired. Let's see what happens there. This is the lady right here. This is a little 8-minute video. Perfect.
Here on Democracy.
Let's check this out together. Watch this. This is a crazy story. This is just crazy story. Modern economy right now. This is the job market in 2026. The type of jobs to expect.
DemocracyNow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. What happens when ICE hires agents with minimal screening, then sends them into the streets, masked and armed? We look now at the agency's...
So let's just take that. Hold on. Before we move on, non-politically, not right, not left. Let's call it a private company. Said that they were going to hire anybody. Let's close our eyes and think about this. Any time in history, pick a different country, and you read in your textbook that people were being hired, given guns, bulletproof vests, and masks, and going from town to town to round up a certain group of people. Shaky at best. I mean, like, were they all criminals, right? That's what you would want to say, right? That's what you'd want to say. Well, what if they're all criminals? Sorry. What if they're all criminals? If they're all criminals, okay. But if you have to round up a population within your civilization, wouldn't it be better just to find a way, instead of spending money to wrap them up and send them out, to educate them and bring them into your culture and society so that they can be part of your labor force? Wouldn't that be like more like if you all right? So you just had that. All right. So that was one. So now let's go back to our history books. That was Empire A. Empire B. They saw what Empire A was doing with sending out people with bulletproof vests and guns, and they didn't see that working out well because they didn't value human death and suffering. So instead, they used that same money to create education reform and stabilize a job market that would integrate them into society. They allowed them to build sections of their own culture, and their own culture was put on display and even subsidized so that it could integrate with the culture that was pre-existing. There were flare-ups in the beginning. There were people going back and forth and a little bit of displacement. But over the course of the next 60 years, one side became more militarized, Empire became more militarized, and more reliant on sending people out of this country and going to war to stop people from coming into the country, while Civilization B, Empire B, was able to find a way to accept its neighbors and bring in prosperity with an expansion in not just culture, but also different economic values, different ways to survive in society, different taste buds, a variety of life, a spice of life. You tell me which empire you think would make it like 150, 250 years. And like, you know, we're gonna get into it because we're gonna do some more history stuff because we need to see how some of these things have played out in the past.
Hiring practices as it surges agents to Minneapolis and other cities. We begin with an independent journalist who applied for an ICE job and was offered it without even a background check. Laura Jadid wrote about her experience in a piece published Tuesday by Slate magazine, headlined, "You've heard about who ICE is recruiting. The truth is far worse. I'm the proof," was the headline. She begins her piece, "The plan was never to become an ICE agent. The plan when I went to the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Career Expo in Texas last August was to learn what it was like to apply to be an ICE agent. Who wouldn't be curious?" she said. Laura Jadid,
right, $50,000 worth of curiosity. Bro, what other job in America right now it has a $50,000 sign on
from
bonus?
Portland, Oregon. Laura, would you take it from there? Explain what exactly you did, what this fair was, and then how you applied to work for ICE and what happened.
Absolutely. So the hiring event, basically, you brought your resume in, you handed it over, they were going to do an interview, and they were promising on-the-spot hiring to where you could, in fact, walk out with your $50,000 bonus that day, possibly. I went in, I handed in my resume, which was, I did a skills-based resume. I'm a veteran, I served 2 tours in Afghanistan, so on the surface, the resume looked pretty good. Had a very brief interview, took all of 6 minutes. They didn't ask very many questions. And then I left, assuming I would never hear back, because I'm a very Googleable person. I have an unusual name. I'm the only Laura Deed on the internet. And I make no secret of how I feel about ICE. And
bro, you could walk out with 50 grand. There's probably people who would like take life for that much money. Oh, wait. That'll at least be a pain in the ass.
Trump and all of it. So I was not expecting several days later to receive a tentative offer. I missed it in my inbox and it sunk to the bottom, which means that I never filled out the paperwork they requested. I never accepted the tentative offer. I never filled out my background check paperwork. I never signed the affidavit saying I committed no domestic violence crimes, none of it. A few weeks later, I got a message from LabCorp saying that ICE wanted me to do a drug test, and I went ahead and did that. I was pretty sure I wouldn't pass. I'd partaken in legal cannabis 6 days before the test, but why not waste some of their money, right? And then 9 days after that, I decided I wanted to, I was curious, had they processed the drug test yet? So I logged onto the ICE hiring portal, and what I found was that not only did the drug test not seem to be relevant, I was listed as having joined ICE as of 3 days earlier. I had listed that I had accepted the offer. They had offered me a final position as a deportation officer. My background check was listed as completed 3 days in the future from when I was looking at it. So it seems like the answer to the question, who are they hiring, is they don't know.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's crazy. They're probably just assuming that since she was a vet, she agreed with like them. Which is crazy, but probably semi-accurate. But like that, like what other job is out there where you can go and get $50,000 upon sign up? This is why I just asked Claude. Hold on. Why I sent it out? Scale the opportunity. 10,000 positions over 4 years. 10,000, $8 billion in funding allocated. So listen, I asked Claude, right? We're using Claude, and I know it, right? Let's go from top up here. I asked him, and I know, mind the spelling. What jobs can I apply for right now in America where I can receive a $50,000 sign-on bonus, right? That was the question. That was just a random question, right? Because I want to see what compares, man. Like, is this the only one out there? Let's see, right? He said federal law enforcement. First one, Claude did. I didn't tell him that I was asking about ICE. It's just the first one that came up, right? He said ICE is actively recruiting and offering up to $50,000 sign-on bonuses for deportation officers, special agents / criminal investigators, ICE attorneys, Homeland Security investigators. Part of a massive hiring push to add 10,000 new officers over 4 years. Additional benefits include student loan forgiveness. The fuck? These people didn't go to college? Maybe they did. I know some people like this that probably did. Some people that are probably like this that did go to college is what I'm trying to say. I want student loan forgiveness, though. Dude, that's like so much money. That'd be taking so much debt, bro. What the fuck? Bonuses often spread over 3+ years rather than paid up front. 80,000 plus applicants received recently. Hiring process takes 12 to 14 months. Polygraphs, background checks. So this is one of those things you have to know about, like how AI works, right? So he's just scraping information, right? He's just seeing what's like officially posted. That's why like human primary sourced conversations are like more accurate, and you have to like weigh them out a little bit more than like how Claude introduces stuff. Because what she's saying is that she got hired in a couple weeks. That's crazy. They're supposed to have 12 to 14 month hiring process before everything starts. Supposed to have a security check. But according to this journalist right here, which okay, if you want to take a little grain of salt, sure. She might have an opinion. She's probably a little biased. Sure. Agreed. No argument. But if what she is saying is 60% truthful, then what are we talking about? But so another job that you get $50,000 sign on, right? Military service. If you want to go sign and work for the military and you want to go invade Greenland, U.S. Army, offers combined bonuses up to $50,000 for certain high-demand enlisted positions, quick ship bonus, job signing bonus, and special skills. So if you can be a Ranger Airborne program, which are like incredibly difficult. I bet you a lot of guys who couldn't make this happen went to ICE. Based off vibes. That's a vibe-based thing. And then you can be an RN nurse. A registered nurse, which is like actually like probably the most. While most RN sign-on bonuses range from 5 to 30, some positions offer up to 50. Critical care specialists from ICU or ER, operating room nurses, position in high demand markets, traveling nurse. Shout out to the nurses. And then if you're an upscaled software tech, senior level positions, all those things, which are the only two that he pulled up that are anything close to like actually like leading to a good outcome for society. Scale of the opportunity, 10,000 positions over 4 years. They have $8 billion in funding. They gave ICE $8 billion to operate. Which is crazy because like that's like another crazy part about ICE is like ICE was like created for this. Like they didn't even go through like normal means. Like we're already one of the most militarized like police force nations out there, and yet we had to invest $8 billion. We're investing $8 billion to increase ICE so that there could be a separate thing that could be like more under Trump's like direct demand because there's not so much bureaucracy and like with time comes like gunk or with time comes like complacency and like your own ruts and your own things. So like having something new and fresh allows you to cut out like all the people, bureaucracies, morals, opinions, and allows you to like lead it more directly for yourself. And you can see that throughout history. A lot of leaders come into power and make their own like military force, their own secret service, their own security teams. And that's the reason is because it's loyal to them and they're too new to have loyalties to anybody else in the system or to have already created their own opinions. There's not enough experience on the team to not do exactly what you say, and not like believe it because like that's the other thing like with a lot of this is like the best teams like militarily like security, safety, all those things like they have to believe what they're fighting for. If they believe what they're fighting for, then like they're way more likely to like fight harder and like have a better outcome. Like again, we're going to have to do history streams. We're going to have to get back and doing some history streams because like this is something you'll see like from like Alexander the Great time, Julius Caesar, like they like Rome putting like their own legions together with like their own like most battle-hardened men that have been with them since like the beginning of their like military time. Like these are things that like are commonplace. It's a pattern. It's a pattern recognition going on right now. Dude, up to 50,000, 25 law enforcement. Whatever. Who cares about all that? Let's get back to this.
You write in the piece, at first glance, my resume has enough to tantalize a recruiter for America's Gestapo in waiting. You're likening ICE to the Gestapo?
Absolutely. And I don't think that's in any way hyperbole. We have armed, masked thugs on our street right now who are brutalizing, detaining, and murdering people with apparent impunity, a carte blanche, a license to kill from our government, and they can't even keep track of who's behind the masks. I don't believe for a second they're keeping track of who's a U.S. citizen, who needs to be deported, where these people even are. These disappearances where people vanish into the system, is it on purpose, or are they really that sloppy with paperwork? Ultimately, it doesn't matter.
Can you imagine if it's just incompetency that's like losing people in the system and they're not even trying? Like I highly doubt that, but that'd be even scarier.
Constitutes a national emergency. We have unknown armed thugs in masks who are terrorizing citizens.
So you have served in the military. You deployed twice. Can you talk about what that experience taught you? And also, you did do an interview with an agent, and I'm wondering if you could tell us what that agent said to you and where that went.
Absolutely. So I joined the military right out of high school. I really believed in the whole war on terror thing. I really thought we were going over to spread freedom and democracy and what have you. And when I got there, it became very evident very quickly that that was not the case and that we were doing it was a bad war and we should not have been there telling people what to do. I was in eastern Afghanistan for the first deployment, western Afghanistan for the second.
It's crazy to think that, like, you imagine, like, a military force today. Like, I was in Venezuela for the first, and I was in Argentina for the second. And, like, I mean, like, that's like the future that we're creating with like this like push into like South America, because like, you know, who knows if it stops here. I mean, we're only into his second year. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought we learned from this. Like, when we pulled out of Afghanistan after 10 years and it was like abysmal failure. I mean, part of me thought we would learn, but the other part of me knew that the other part of it is like our military complex is so big, our economic military complex, like our economy and our military is so intertwined that we almost have to be at war for our GDP and stock market to continue. Like, there's been like, I mean, we have to pull it up someday, but like there's like been some research into that. I'll see if I can look it up when I start her up again. But like, we have to be like constantly at war so that we can continue to like essentially grow our economy, because we've become so intertwined since the 1940s, and there's a section of our, like, we're so like desensitized to it, we don't even care anymore. And that's one of the only things that we like is domestically built. I mean, and like part of our military isn't even domestic. Like the creation of like our chips to run our most modern fleet of like rockets and like drones and shit, some of them chips aren't built here. That's just crazy to think that like we're like bringing that to our hemisphere, and it's crazy to think too, because like before we went to Afghanistan and Desert Storm and all that, I read this book called True Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And, you know, obviously with it being like him saying he like worked with the CIA, you got to take like some grains of salt, right? But what he laid out made a lot of sense. What he laid out was like we had internal programs like that the CIA was backing that were being ran from like I think the 60s and 70s and maybe the 80s, where we're going to South America. We were essentially like producing these like false like economic projections that made them like eligible to sign like huge bank loans at like an interest rate that like trapped them after X amount of years. And it essentially like is the reason, like one of the reasons that like American corporations have been sucking resources from these countries for like, you know, since modern history. I mean, you could probably even go back. I mean, this really probably started all the way back in European times with like colonization. Again, we can walk through those pieces of history too, but you know, this True Confession of Economic Hitman like tied them to our banking system. You know what I mean? We had them like locked and loaded in a bunch of loans that they couldn't pay back. Pretty much what they do with like on an individual level with student debt. It's the same fucking thing. Tell you that you're gonna have this huge economic impact in like 5 years before the loans even come due, so you might as well take the money up front so that in 5 years you'll be able to pay them back easy peasy lemon squeezy. But then once you get to that 5-year gap, you realize like what they told you was a complete lie. Actually, now that I think about it, what they did to South America, they did do to their own population on an individual level. Pretty wild. At least that was one of your options coming out of college, was either go grind from the bottom and find a plan for yourself, or if you follow the nation, societal, civilization plan, you're just going to get locked into debt. But so we were doing that with like South America, right? And like when we went to, one of the reasons we went to war with Afghanistan and in the Middle East in general is because like it didn't work. we would try to put like that same like financial economic pressure on them, and they essentially like those countries were like, fuck you. We don't care what we signed. We don't care what the loan is. We're not either. I can't remember if they didn't sign it or they didn't honor it when it came due, but they didn't take the bait. That's like why OPEC became a huge thing, is because like they all linked together to force us out financially and economically, and that's why we had to go to war with them. We could take a deeper dive with someone who's read more books about it, but that's a pretty good synopsis. And now we're going to war again with our own fucking people.
So I did not see combat, but as a military intelligence collector, I saw plenty of the decisions that got people killed on both sides that didn't need to happen. So I came back very disillusioned, like a lot of people, and actually like the ICE agent that I spoke to, which, by the way, this interview wasn't actually part of the hiring process. It was an optional step to see if I wanted to join up. But he told me that he was also joined right out of high school. He also deployed. And when he got back, he also got out as soon as he could. He didn't want anything to do with the military. But he had a lot of trouble assimilating, as a lot of veterans do. And so about 6 months later, he decided to go for law enforcement. And the rest is history. He's been an ICE.
That's crazy that you went to the Army and then like your career and your skills just line you up to become like an ICE agent or a police officer. Like you'd have to pivot into a different industry, which is just like a hard thing to do, both like mentally, spiritually, and like, practically.
Agent, he said for about a decade he likes the work. He feels like he's getting instant results. And this is very sad to me and also emblematic of a problem we have where we use this language of terrorism and weapons of mass destruction and freedom and democracy at the barrel of a gun. We did this overseas, and it's come home in every conceivable way.
Talk about your concerns about them not doing a background check. I mean, what does this mean for people who are documented to, wife beaters, people kill women?
Yeah,
bro, because the thing is, we can all understand this, right? Like the problem with like just asking anybody to come sign up and do this, right? Like, it's gonna bring those type of dudes, right? Like, it's gonna bring like those big truck driving. Like, power and control means I'm the most violent and like dominant person in the room. Like, that's the personality type this type of job like brings, and that's like one of the biggest reasons why you gotta teach like other like personality, like not personality, but that's why you gotta have like certain types of training mentally, psychologically, so that you can hone that and use that as a positive, not negative. And like this, like according to this woman, the process is moving too quick for that to be a possibility. They don't care if you have a violent background already because they want you. In my opinion, it's because either incompetency, possibly, or the fact that it's like kind of what they want. They want people to come out here and be giant dickheads and push a liberal, push the Democrats, fight them. They're the real evil. It's the illegal immigrants. They're the reason that wages haven't came up. They're the reason that we're the richest country in the world, but my town and my area isn't doing better. That the next generation can't find housing. The next generation can't find better employment. It's because of the immigrants, right? Right. Isn't that not the argument? Or you're saying that they're the reason that all the you're saying that they're the reason that all the drugs are running around? But the last, you say the illegal immigrants are the reason the fentanyl's here. We can look it up. We can take some time one day and do that. But last time, the opiate epidemic, which, I don't know if it ever really fully ended, was found to be caused by American companies and American doctors. Pharmaceutical reps were the reason opiates were killing people. So you're telling me it went from boardroom, you're telling me the boardroom, the pharmaceutical company that is lobbying America was making profit off the opiate epidemic, but now illegal immigrants have came in and stepped in on their market and are running the fentanyl game? Don't know why. The only reason that can make sense is if the pharmaceutical company is the one that gave the Gov Trump $8 billion to become ICE agents to kick them out so that they can own the market again. That's the only way that makes sense to me. That is the only way. The pharmaceutical company owns part of our Congress. They are one of the biggest lobbyists, the biggest industries, one of the most insulated industries. They produce little pills and hike up the margins. Health insurance in this country sucks. They're one of the biggest devils out there. And you're telling me that illegal immigrants that can't even speak the language are undoing all their work? Okay. All right. Whatever you say.
It's very funny that they hired a lefty journalist with a profile on Antifa Watch. That's hilarious. But what's not funny is they didn't make me sign a domestic violence waiver. So how many people with domestic violence convictions are running around with guns in our cities terrorizing
That's crazy.
people? How many people who have been committed of sex crimes or crimes against children are in charge of detention centers where there's no oversight, where people won't be missed and won't be believed? The horror, it boggles the mind how bad this really is.
And you were hired to be a deportation officer. What exactly is that? Where would you serve?
Yeah, so yes, deportation officer. Basically, the agent was very keen on letting me know that I wouldn't be given a badge and a gun right away. I wouldn't be out in the street messing people up. I would probably have to push paperwork for about 6 months before I got there. And when I expressed that was fine with me, with my analyst background, he actually the atmosphere changed. He was like, no, listen, we want everyone on the street with guns eventually. And I had to reassure him
that's crazy.
That was also fine.
That's crazy.
It seems like
even our U.S. military doesn't give everybody a gun. You know what I mean? You got to have people like in support. You got to have people doing analytics. You got to have people doing research. You got to have people like boots on the ground. You got to need people to do scout. Like, you need more than just people with guns. But these guys are just like, no, everyone needs a gun. Everyone needs to be on the street right now. That's just not. What's the positive outcome? What is the positive outcome that they're trying to lead to?
Is very much getting people out on the street with guns, and the focus of the people applying apparently is to get out on the street as quickly as possible to brutalize people.
I'll just end by asking you, you said you signed up to fight the war on terror and you served twice in Afghanistan. You call what's happening here in the United States the war on terror come home.
That's crazy.
Yes. It is very sad. It is not surprising that it is very sad. This is a national emergency. This is a state emergency. And frankly, it's past time that governors called up the National Guard to protect the citizens who elected them to keep them safe from the people actually terrorizing us in the streets.
Laura Jadid, I want to thank you for being with us.
That's a fact, man. Like, where are the representatives? I mean, even like on the state level, man. Even on the state level. Like, where are the people that are, like, supposed to be here to protect us? Like, local sheriffs even. Like, they should be out here trying to, like, not let ICE do what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason ICE is doing this. There's no reason. There should be people out here trying to prevent this from happening. And I know there's people protesting, but who's protecting the protesters? Why aren't there a group of men out here protecting the protesters? You know? I want to go out there. Let's make a team. Let's find a way to do it safely. Not safely. It doesn't have to be safe. That's the thing. It doesn't have to be safe, and it doesn't have to be 100% right. You know what I mean? We gotta, like, they're in the gray zone. They're past the gray zone. They're in the dark. We gotta find ways to pull them out. We gotta find ways to, like, combat that. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not a violent person. I'm not saying we have to be violent, but we have to find ways to protect ourselves. We have to find a way to protect those who are, like, just trying to have their voices heard. That's what we're gonna do. Sorry. It's a crazy time to be alive, man. You know, people said Rome fell when the legion turned inwards.
We begin to...
When the legion started marching in Roman streets. Because, like, it was said that legions weren't legions. Like, if you, me, and everyone else, like, formed a platoon, like our own little legion, we were all Roman soldiers. We wouldn't be, like, legionnaires until we were outside the city gates. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't be inside. But it wasn't until they were put in, because you're not going to believe this, but in Rome, the living conditions got so bad and inequality got so terrible, to put down uprisings inside of Rome, they had to march legionnaires into their own cities to combat, like, the common folk people. It's kind of crazy, ain't it? Sounds pretty wild, ain't it? Yeah, we're not even, and they did that before, like, you know, we weren't even yelling about the inequality. I guess we are. Affordability's terrible, and they're blaming the out group. I mean, it's just a crazy time, man. So now that we know, we just watched a journalist come out here and say that they made her a ICE officer, wanted to give her a gun without making sure she didn't have a violent background. She, according to her, she had taken weed, or had smoked some weed, and should have failed the drug test, and they still hired her, right? They were still going to give her a gun, or not give her a gun right away, like she was saying, but they wanted to. They wanted to get her here for a little while, so then we get her a gun, a mask, and send her out on the street, right? So now I'm hoping, I didn't want to pre-watch this at all, but I'm hoping that this is going to show where we currently are with ICE agents in Minneapolis and in the United States in general. So let's see those people who we don't know if they committed domestic violence. And guys, the other part too is during BLM, I was down in Columbus, right? And like I had a camera and I was doing some like journalistic type things. That's all I was trying to do. I wasn't like trying to be in the protest. I was trying to watch the protest type. And even then, I just remember like SWAT guys like high-fiving each other in the car after like pepper spraying and like tackling some dudes. And it's just like crazy. And like watching like the drones overhead, how people were moving politically, are moving militarily, and like how like you could see how the police force knew what the protesters were, where they were going, and what they were trying to do before they were as they were doing it. Like protesters didn't stand a chance in terms of like a fight, right? And I remember yelling at them, like telling them, like same way I'm talking now, you know, like guys, you don't have to do this. Like you're turning against, like you're an average man. You're like, you know, you're going against your class. You know what I mean? You're working class folk. Like you get paid a salary, and that's who you're turning on right now. Like you're protecting property. That was the big thing that they were saying. Well, they were tearing up property, bro. That's material. That's money. That's insurance. The insurance company's gonna have to make a claim. Oh shit, they're gonna have to pay out for one time in their damn lives, right? And I remember like the guy who, like the commander, I don't know, sergeant, whoever of this little platoon who was inside the square that was surrounded by the guys with the shields. He told him, he's like, if he says something again, he keeps yelling, pepper spray him. And I'm like, whoa, that's wild. I'm just sitting on the sidewalk away from everybody, talking the talk. And I remember talking then too. I remember talking and watching one lady hand over the spray. Like she didn't want to be the one that did it and handed it to one of her coworkers. You know, so they are human. They're human. But that means that they got... So that's like your police force out there, right? That's like your community. That's like people from Columbus out here stopping protesters that were from Columbus and surrounding area, right? Of course. Especially in like a rural area, right? But ICE agents are national people who are getting sent to different cities, bro. You got people from all over the nation getting sent to Minneapolis with a massive gun and a bulletproof vest telling them to go wreak havoc. And they are ego tripping, bro, because I saw locals have egos on locals. I can't imagine if you don't know nobody. This whole area is new. You don't have no memories of driving down here, being down here, going to work down here. There's not a chance you know none of these people out here. Of course you're going to be the biggest dickhead you can be. That's just human nature. Let alone, that's the type of people that's the type of person you're trying to recruit. You know, like this lady the lady before, she was a vet, right? What if you were, you know, looking for a vet that, you know, didn't quench his thirst, that still wanted to itch for the fight, the adrenaline rush. That's all he really cared about. Let alone how many people actually believe in this shit. They are so hopeless and they're so hopeless for a better future. And they're so unknowing of the causes that lead them to hopelessness and the fear that's inside of them that they want this to be true. They want the immigrant. It's way easier. It'd be a way easier problem if illegal immigrants were the reason for all of our issues. Way better than a billionaire. How am I supposed to fight back against the guy signing my paycheck? Don't bite the hand that feeds you. You know, so they want it to be true. They want this to be the direction that they need to head. So let's see what these dickheads are doing across the nation. Let's see what she's talking about.
Looking at ICE's escalating use of violence and force. Last week, an ICE agent fatally shot Renee Good, 37-year-old mother of three in Minneapolis, sparking nationwide protests.
This is posted 7 hours ago.
President Trump threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act and send troops to Minnesota. Following the shooting of Renee Good, ICE's violent tactics have come under increasing scrutiny. A new investigation by ProPublica documents more than 40 cases of immigration agents using banned chokeholds and other...
Of course, they weren't trained. This is what they see on TV. This is how Conor McGregor does it. Of course, this is how I'm going to do it.
Moves that can cut off breathing.
Bro, that's how we lost George Floyd, bro. Like, what are we talking about, bro? It just got worse.
In one case, ICE agents violently arrested an ICU nurse in California named Amanda Treback.
That woman is a hero. She said ICU nurse. That woman is a hero. And this is how we're treating her. This is how our president is treating her. This is how we're treating her with our taxpayer money. It's crazy.
She was documenting ICE operations in the Los Angeles area. Two plainclothes masked agents were filmed pinning her against the pavement as they knelt on her back. One agent put his knee on Treback's head for a brief moment.
Filming you. Get off her head! Get off me! Get off your knee! Get off her head! Get it off!
Get back, get back.
Get off her head!
Get back.
Get off me! This is public property, sir. This is public property. Streaming live. This This is ICE beating her up. They got her knee on her head. I am where I need to be, 10 feet, so.
You guys get her in the van?
Sir? You okay? Yeah.
Amanda Trebek was then held in federal custody.
Bro, if you can't have people documenting what you're doing, maybe you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. Think about that. If this was so like what we needed as a country, wouldn't you want it documented? Bro, you just think you're gonna be able to roll up and people ain't gonna do shit? That whole like don't tread on me shit run both ways, just different ways of expressing it. This is crazy, bro.
Custody. After her release, she appeared on Democracy Now!
They came out in a convoy. They jumped out of the vehicle. As you could see, they pinned me to the ground and they handcuffed me. They took me into an unmarked vehicle. They did not read me my rights. They didn't tell me where I was going. They shut the vehicle.
Broke the Constitution.
They drove me to the other side of the non-civilian side of Terminal Island.
She has due process.
And basically, they kidnapped me.
That's why these people are not police officers. I hate when the word police is mentioned with ICE, because if they were police officers, they would have to like read the Miranda rights. They'd have to actually arrest her and detain her and take her to a public building. They wouldn't just be able to just kidnap her and take her anywhere, and no lawyer, no family can find her, bro. Like that's just that. Like how? She's an ICU nurse. How? How is this okay? How is this okay?
We're joined now by ProPublica reporter Nicole Foy. Her latest article headlined, "We found more than 40 cases of immigration agents using banned chokeholds and other moves that can cut off breathing." In October, Nicole also revealed how ICE detained more than 170 U.S. citizens. Nicole Foy, welcome to Democracy Now! It's great to have you with us. Why don't you lay out your latest findings? Talk about these.
See how she got her. To be fair, let's see how she got her information. I'm interested in how she found her data. We got to stay objective, even though we think this is what's true.
Full chokeholds, which are in fact illegal.
Yes, my coworker Mackenzie Funk and I, we spent most of this last year documenting aggressive tactics by immigration agents, and what we found is that over the last year, immigration agents across the country have used these really dangerous and banned by their own policy chokeholds and carotid restraints, as well as many of these also dangerous kneeling on people's necks, kneeling on backs like we saw with Amanda, in ways that can really restrict your breathing and your blood flow, which is one of the reasons why their own training actually highly discourages this types of arrest, but we've seen it across the country.
And Nicole, can you talk about some of the specific examples that you document? For instance, Arnaldo Bazan, a 10th grader in Texas.
Yes, he was. That's a.
So
that's
how
a case that
how
really
did she get this
sticks out
information?
Because he is a 16-year-old U.S. citizen, and he was really violently arrested with his father in a store in Houston. You can hear him in the video as officers are putting him in a chokehold, screaming that he's a minor, that he's 16, he was going to school, that he's a U.S. citizen, and yet he told us that that didn't matter. The agent continued to use a chokehold on him that, again, is banned unless there is a call for deadly force. And when we showed videos like this one to a number of police officers, other former immigration officials and top DHS officials, they were really appalled, and they had no idea what could have prompted this level of deadly force, especially against someone like a 16-year-old U.S. citizen who really had really difficult and dramatic injuries to deal with in the aftermath.
I'm so happy that's how we're traumatizing our youth today. Back in my day, the way we got traumatized is by shit we saw on TV, like 9/11. Or like the 2008 stock market crash. Now we're just doing this to 16-year-olds. Look at that guy. Look at that guy, bro. Like, Like, who's proud of this, bro? Like, how is this helping? Like, how is this leading to a better outcome? How is this getting to leaving society or civilization better than we found it? By doing this to 16-year-olds, bro. This guy can barely drive, and he got ICE agents on him like that. They're hurting our youth. We need to protect children. They're literally just attacking children. That's insane. That is insane. We have masked agents who do not have background checks going around this nation, bringing 16-year-olds like putting them in a position where they could die. I'm not saying this man's intent was to kill him. I'm saying the reason that this chokehold is illegal is because it can lead to death. Untrained, unfit, uneducated, just run around with a gun, acting like this is GTA and he's the police force within GTA. Isn't that? It's just wild, bro. It's a wild time to be alive. It's a wild time to be alive and like believe in this shit. How are you gonna believe in this? How are you on team this is good? I wish somebody in the chat would try to tell me. I mean, I get it. I do get it in a way. I do understand. I have seen it.
Faced disciplinary measures.
We've yet to find any evidence that they have. We asked the Department of Homeland Security if they have disciplined any officers, especially in cases where we showed them these videos and said your own policy bans the use of a carotid restraint, the use of a chokehold. Have these officers been disciplined? And they did not answer us, would not tell us if any had been disciplined for these tactics, and they stood very firmly behind their officers' actions and said that they were acting with the utmost professionalism and even using a reasonable amount of force.
I wanted to read from your piece. Immigration agents have put civilians' lives at risk using more than their guns. An agent in Houston put a teenage citizen into a chokehold, wrapping his arm around the boy's neck, choking him so hard his neck had red welts hours later. A black masked agent in Los Angeles pressed his knee into a woman's neck while she was handcuffed, then appeared to pass out. An agent in Massachusetts jabbed his finger and thumb into the neck and arteries of a young father who refused to be separated from his wife and one-year-old daughter. The man's eyes rolled back in his head, and he started convulsing. That's what you wrote.
I don't get it. These people need to be stopped. And, like, again, I'm not violent, but, like, peace be damned. We have to start revolting like the French. We need to start taking our farming equipment and our manure. We need to start taking shits on their lawns. Like, I love that we're keeping them awake, and I love that we're, like, you know, banging on things, not letting ICE agents sleep. But we got to figure out who's cooking their dinner and, you know, pissing their drinks a little bit, bro. Like, what the fuck is going on? This is absurd. You're telling me an ICE agent who we're listening about, we're unvetted, do not know if they have DV, untrained, with a gun, a mask, and a bulletproof vest, choked out a child a 16-year-old in the Houston area, a child in the Houston area, until he had welts on his neck and he started convulsing and like lost consciousness. How does anybody defend these people? And why do we take them seriously?
Tell us more about these cases.
I think the case of the young father in Massachusetts is particularly disturbing and was really disturbing for so many of the bystanders who were there witnessing it and recording it. Like you said, he refused to be separated from his young daughter, a 1-year-old who was in the car with him, in between him and his wife. Agents had come to arrest his wife, but she also didn't want to leave her 1-year-old behind. She said that she was still breastfeeding and she couldn't leave the child behind. And in an effort, and we know this because we reviewed body cam footage and bystander footage.
Bro. Shame on this guy right here. You are a police officer for this local area, and you're letting this happen behind you. A mom getting ripped away from her baby while she is breastfeeding. ICE is ripping them out of the car. Maxed up. Bro, there's been no point in history where this has been okay. Like, it's in our human instincts to know that this is wrong. That's why, like, social media got to be studied harder, because it rotted our brains so hard. Cable news, too. I'm not even saying we understand the impacts of cable news. 24/7 news services. But, bro, every point of human history since our, like, dawn of time, we should know that this is wrong. You don't do this. This is not how you treat people. This is not acceptable in any shape or form. And the only time, the people who have accepted it have been the bastards of history.
Body cam footage and
slavery, concentration camps. What else do I think of when I see this? I think of, the Jewish Holocaust. I think of, like, slavery, selling members of families to different fucking plantations. I think of genocide of the Native Americans.
and bystander footage. We know that officers really wanted them, specifically this young man, Carlos, to let go, and he wouldn't let go of his daughter or his wife.
Why should he? Why should he? Why should he? These people have no rights to be doing what they're doing. They are unconstitutional.
You can see in the video the moment when an agent decides to reach around from the back and press his fingers and thumb into his neck. And he appears to start having a seizure. And he shakes so violently that his young daughter, who is of course crying, is shaking with him. He did end up getting to be released with his daughter, but he's filed a lawsuit alleging not only excessive force, but also alleging that ICE officers delayed medical attention when he requested it on the scene. And so it's really a difficult video to watch, but these arrests are playing out around the country and often in full view of cameras and witnesses.
And this issue of ICE arresting American citizens, you mentioned there have been about 130 of them, including about a dozen elected officials. Could you talk about some of those cases, especially the case of Dulce Consuelo Diaz Morales?
Yes, so last year in October,
they're out here attacking our children. They're not protecting innocence. They're not protecting peace. We're okay with pedophiles leading us. We're okay with pedophiles leading us. We're okay with ICE raiding us. And I know we're not all okay with it, but, like, bro, like, I personally cannot. I mean, like, since slavery, I can't think of another time in American history when it's been like us as the people, us as the common folk, like the average American, like, should, like, be more infuriated. Like, we should be mad as hell. We should be upset. We should be in the streets. We should be doing whatever it takes to change this shit, bro. We should not be okay with this. This is, like, bad news bears, man. This is, again, they are, pedophiles are in charge. And then there's a whole Jay Arbery video. I have dinner plans today, so I can't stay forever. Maybe I'll stream again on Sunday and then again on Monday. But when you start getting into, like, Jay Aubrey broke down how J.D. Vance and Peter Thiel are connected, you start thinking about all the, like, the billionaires that are really pulling the strings within our government. Then all of a sudden it starts to, like, I asked my pops. I looked over at him. I'm like, Dad, how many oil execs do you think are in the Epstein files? You know, politicians are middle management right now. Politicians work for the CEOs and the billionaires. They're probably not even the CEOs. they work for the shareholders, the board members, the people who own the corporations, right? So they're just middle management. The reason we know Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein are in the files because it's their job to eat the shit from the American public. That's why they get paid hundreds of millions of dollars, is so that when we get mad, we yell at them and not the people in charge right now, not the billionaires, not the trillionaires. You know what I mean? So, like Elon Musk is a fake one because he's out here eating shit. But even when he has enough time eating shit, he bounces and leaves Trump and JD to eat more of it. You know what I'm saying? So middle management job is to eat shit from the workers, the employees, and take orders from the millionaires and the billionaires. So, of course, they're going to release what politicians of power are in those files before they release, like, the CEO. Before we know that, like, someone like Warren Buffett, they gave us Bill Gates because he's a Democrat, can't even say it, but he's a Democrat backer, and they needed a couple more Democrats on the block. That's why Trump released him, because he's a billionaire that didn't bend the knee hard enough. You know what I'm saying? It's just a crazy time to be alive, man. It really is. Man. It hurts. We're trying to do more about it. I'm a couple things on my agenda. Still working on the database. Still working on the updates for the website. I'm going to get a couple other creators. Try to find a way for them to get involved. Expand our variety, spice of lifestyle. We got my buddy Cody Cole. He wants to do some film breakdown streams. I got I think my boy Charles, he already makes some content, but I would love to be part of his journey as a MMA fighter. He was both those guys are defensive linemen from when I played football. And then my boy Teague, he's my barber. He's the one that freshened me up. Chink chink. He wants to do some lifestyle stuff, and some like mad streams. So I gotta get some things in order so that you see some other content creators out here. Get a little more variety, because I know it has to get a little. I know I just be yelling, bro. It's just crazy what's happening nowadays. It's hard not to yell. It's hard not to get mad. It's hard not to see this shit and get like infuriated. I mean, they really out here like people out here listen to Asmongold. And like one of my biggest questions I got, I'm gonna leave it on this, and we'll pick it up from next time. My question is, do Republicans, do they get their thoughts more from higher up, more wealthy Republicans, like Charles, what's his name, Tucker Carlson, Asmongold, Fox News? Do they get their Elon Musk? Do they get their Donald Trump? You know what I mean? Donald Trump's goons. Do they get their talking points and like parameters for their characters more for them? Or do they love them more, or do they hate Democrats more? Because it feels like they really, 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 like the biggest thing is that they just want to be on the opposite side of a fucking Democrat or libtard. That's what I'm saying. This shit ain't political, bro. Don't come at me with that politics shit. This shit's moral. This shit has character. The part that as like children that we thought of when we were growing up, and we were like, man, the character and goodwill and morals of America will always lead us to be better. Even when we stumble, even when we fall, we'll pick ourselves up, and we'll find a way through that allows the world to be a better place. That's at least what I thought. I thought growing up from we still have my generation for sure has, we want to like make amends. We want to like pay for the sins of the past. We want to come out here. We want to leave the world better than we found it. Make up for our sins. Put the DEI was supposed to be a way for white men to give up a little bit of the voice, a little bit of the influence, and give it to like the people who are best for the job. And that would bring more variety, more diversity. You know, we've been cutting generational wealth out of communities for 250 years. You know, I thought we were a generation that wanted better character. We are, I think. I think more than not, I believe in my generation. It's tough, but I think when you're out in the real world, you know that we want to leave society better than we found it. We want to lead with character. We want better morals, and we want to lean on those things to always find a way through. When things seem dark, when there's no light around, we want to build and know that we have like the spiritual spine to stand up and find a way. I think that's what we want. But we're going to have to be okay with like understanding that violence is wrong and understanding that like some of our elders in a big subsect of society, we got to turn our backs on them a little bit. Not a little bit, we got to turn our backs on them. You know what I mean? Like, some people are choosing to be the enemy. Some people are choosing to feed their ego instead of their character. Some people would rather, have, violent control. Some people would like to be used as a tool to bring on destruction instead of selling out their character for $50,000, selling out their soul. And some probably don't even realize it. Messed up part is some people probably agree with me on wanting characters and morals and a spiritual spine, but they think the way of showing it and what that means is becoming an ICE agent. Accepting the fact that Venezuela had to fall and we had to take over their oil supply, and we have to take over Russian oil tankers, and we have to invade Greenland. And it's okay if they don't tell us who the pedophiles are. And as long as the stock market's going up, I'm okay with eating just corn tortillas, broccoli, and one piece of chicken. As long as my billionaires become trillionaires, we're okay. Some people just are stuck in that. There's a framework, there's a philosophy. And it's rampant and it's consistent. And it's way more consistent going that way than it is on the left. On the left, you hear it's all everywhere. And that's part of the reason the Republicans are, because, some of these philosophies on the left go wild. Like, what you're talking about, don't really make sense sometimes. Like, how is that what you're concerned about right now? You know what I'm saying? Maybe well-intentioned, good, same. They both could be well-intentioned, but they're both going, crazy directions. And they keep thinking that's all it is. It's either that or that. It's either a crazy ICE agent or it's, trying to convince yourself that the guy from Venezuela was a good guy. I'm not saying he's a good guy. I'm saying what we did was wrong, for sure, 1,000%. What we did in Venezuela was fucking crazy. I just don't get it on all these issues. I think what we're going to have to start doing on our next stream is I'm going to start pulling up. We're going to go back in history again. We're probably going to start in the 1930s in Germany. And we're really going to take our time and we're going to figure out the historical timeline and these points of how things happened. And then we're going to look in our modern time and see what compares. Because this is crazy, bro. We're building concentration camps and we're outsourcing them. Concentration of one ethnic group camped together in a labor camp, prison. Let alone that's what we've been doing to African Americans in our own prison system forever. Whites, poor people is the real answer. It's not black or white. It's poor. It's always on the economic line is probably the best divider. There's some, definitely poor people who are supporting the shady side, but the shady side's a rich side, man. It pays to be evil. It pays to be evil, man. Because think about that, I always told myself I make $1 million in a year. That's more money than I'll ever, that I've ever seen. I'm going to see it one day. I know. I feel it in my heart, my soul. I know that, having the wealth I need to, raise a family and take care of my community is on its way, because I'm going to do right. I'm going to do what I have to do to carry the responsibilities that bring that upon me. But I don't, once you get, especially once you have $1 million after tax, then why do you need more? What else do you need? And I know that's a lost thing nowadays, but that's how greed, Greed is the root of all evil. Follow the money and you'll see like why the bad things happen. You'll see who's responsible for them. It's because at some point you don't need any more money. If you're living a balanced, holistic life, like teachings of Jesus and Buddha teach you to like get rid of your material belongings. And at some point you don't need any more money. You need to spread that. You need to give more than you take. And it's just something that doesn't happen very often. And like our society's not even built around that. Like we don't honor that. We don't like that's what we need to worship. Not the people who make $1 million a day or a month. We shouldn't be chasing that. We should be chasing living a good life. Is your legacy going to be one of good character? Are people going to remember you because you were there for them in the hard times? Because you stood up for them? Or are you just going to hand them a sack of money at the end of the day? Because then what was it? They love you or do they love the fact that you gave them money? Is love even around here? Is this just a transaction? I don't think you can put value on human life, man. I don't think you can put a number on it. I don't think you can monetize human life. I can do more, go farther. It's God-given. It's sacred, Billionaires are chasing becoming trillionaires instead of like chasing a better society, a better civilization. Man, I'm talking about like once you have $1 million and you live in the Midwest, what else do you need? Imagine making like $100 million, $10 million, $500 million. Like, what are we talking about? You start getting to numbers that can like change society and change like a city. You can change a state. You can change a population. And it's just sitting there in pools of wealth and value, helping so few people. And we're just willing to accept lies that an out-group are the cause of our problems. Because again, what is economy, man? Let's think about this one last time. What is economy? Economy is you taking that energy that's God-given. This ability to be conscious, this ability to be awake, this ability to move your hands and do something with it. The fact that you don't need to go get food, the fact that you have fresh water. This energy you do, you're putting it into your ecosystem. You're applying it and you're making it into value. You're turning that God-given energy and you're putting it and creating value, right? In our current system, in our current economy, trickle-down economics, that energy goes straight to the top. That value goes straight to the top. It just pools and it just sits there. And there's a little bit of leakage, but we are dependent on a drain of an hourly or salary wage. It's not about the energy you're given. It's about how big of a drip do you get. People aren't getting compensated properly. You can point to ICE agents, $50,000 signing bonus. Wild. For what? To terrorize children and put 16-year-olds in chokeholds. There ain't no jobs programs out here that's like helping small towns, that's helping things become more affordable. We're not on like a revolution of like changing how we do transportation throughout the country. Healthcare is crazy. We're not even building our own like microchips. Again, we were talking about Greenland earlier. We could be building refineries and actually like being able to take crude oil over here and making it usable. We can't do that. Even like the crude oil in Venezuela, we can't even process it. We have to like send it somewhere else to be processed. We could be building those industries here. I'm not even 100% for them. Could still be building them. That's why it's not political, Like these data centers that need more power, they need all this water. Well, why aren't we building like solar and wind farms around the data center? Why are we just letting them plug into our infrastructure and take it away from us? And this trickle-down economic, how come the margin always has to affect our part of the margin? How come like shrinkflation, like when they're shrinking the size of our consumable goods, why is that always got to hurt our side of our side of the line? You know what I mean? Because all that energy is supposed to go up. Everything, all the value is supposed to go up. All the margin is supposed to help the people with the pools of wealth already. So they find an outgroup to blame all the problems on. And a lot of people like taking the bait. Now we got to fight over. Now we have to fight over this. Like I have to spend time talking about this instead of talking about data economics and how to do something new. How can I come on here and not address what the hell's happening in the country and talk about having good character and good morals? You know. They're hurting 16-year-olds, man. And they're protecting pedophiles. They're protecting pedophiles. They're sending masked armed agents with bulletproof vests to attack 16-year-olds at their jobs while they work, ripping mothers away from their babies. Taking over a sovereign country with a dictator and threatening a sovereign social democratic country in Greenland. Greenland got better off than we got it. And we're going to turn them into Cuba. All for what? Ego? I don't know. It's definitely a crazy time to be alive, man. So let me say a little closing prayer, and then I'll see you guys on Monday, maybe Sunday, maybe tomorrow. Next time I hop on. Dear God, thank you for today. Thank you for this stream. Thank you for all those that came. I just pray for well-being for all those that are in need of peace and sanctuary. Thank you for allowing me to have the chance to demonstrate high character. I pray that I continue to be guided by you and be led by you. Please allow me to diminish myself so that you can be more greatly seen. Please help me continue to evolve into this world. Thank you for the ability to reflect, and thank you for the desire to be better each and every day. I just pray that everyone's able to turn towards you, and no matter what their situation or circumstance is, that your light is able to shine within them. I pray that those that are deserving of peace find it, and I pray that you give the trials and tribulations to the wicked man so that they can find light within themselves and bring that to the forefront. Thank you for my family. Thank you for the peace that I enjoy. Thank you for just all that you bestow upon me, and I just continue to ask that you bless the word in front of me as you bless the one that I leave behind. In your holy name, by your son Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. All right, guys. I will see you guys next time. Check us out, tribelivenetwork.com. Get us up on YouTube, and, peace.